Lorenzo, first of all, I got to ask you the obvious question. Were you a fan of G.I. Joe growing up?
I'm a little too old to have been a core fan.
Nonsense.
Of G.I. Joe. No, I grew up with the action hero, G.I. Joe, pre-1983, but Larry Hama's comic book came at a time where I was starting my business career and didn't have a lot of time at that moment to read comics.
What's your relationship with Larry Hama? I mean, it must be very close. Did you try to keep the movie as real, as close to the comic books as possible?
Yes, I mean, Larry found a great thing, and in creating that, he attracted a great fan base. And so we brought Larry on as a consultant to the movie. He read the script. He told us if he had any things he really didn't like, and we did our best to adjust to his vision.
When was it that you yourself developed a keen interest in developing G.I. Joe into a movie?
It's about 6 years ago, I think, 6 or 7 years ago, and the CEO of Hasbro had called me because we had done some business together at Warner Brothers and said, you know, you interested in G.I. Joe? I said, well, it's one of the great brands. Let me learn a little bit more, and as I read the comic book, I realized how much fun we could have with it.
Now, 82 days shooting, if I'm not mistaken, 160 plus sets that you had to visit and shoot at. You know, obviously a very tight schedule making this film, and we watched the movie. Great job, by the way.
Thank you.
But what was the biggest challenge that you guys faced in making this film?
I think putting together the right cast, because most movies you have to really worry about 2 or 3 characters, and everything really hinges off that. This really has 8 characters and even 10 characters where you really have to have the right fit to the puzzle. So trying to find that balance was pretty tricky.
And of course, there's going to be a lot of diehard fans who, you know, want to see their favorite G.I. Joes and Cobra guys, you know, depicted as real as possible. Do you think that the actors put their own spin on the characters, or were they instructed to, no, you've got to play it as the comic book depicted?
Well, I think you don't want to just be the way the animation series or the comic book was, because it will feel dated. Those characters are a little dated now. They're 80s characters, you know. So they brought some of their own personality, but they also knew that we cared very much about who the original characters were. So there's sort of a blend of that.
Now, like the cartoon and like the toys, which I grew up with, you know, a lot of fantastic vehicles, you know, and things of that sort, and technology was awesome. A lot of the time people will say, well, that's just fictional. But I think there are some things in the film that are actually true, such as the accelerator suits and things like that. Can you elaborate on that?
You know, what is really fun in movies is you can imagine what's possible. And we took a lot of the technologies that either are just at their very beginning stages today, or they're hypothetically not that far away, and then we pushed them a little bit further to see how far you could go with it. I mean, you know, I always say to people, you know, can you imagine an iPhone or a BlackBerry 10 or 15 years ago? Try to explain that to somebody. Now it's just like it's a norm. So some of these things will be a norm. I hope I can get an accelerator suit before I get too old.
Can I pre-order one now?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I want one too.
Well, one final question, Lorenzo, and that is, I'm going to just put it into one word: sequel. Will there be a sequel?
Well, there's a ton of stories, so there's plenty of stories to choose from. There's a lot of new characters that people are going to want to introduce. The fans have to vote for it first. The fans are the ones that decide whether there's a sequel or not. You know, we loved the characters, and it was fun making the movie, so it'd be fun to do it again. But the fans have to come out and support this movie, and then the sequel will be possible.